Hi guys, and welcome back to the askrhyce show where I answer your questions about real estate. Today is a really interesting one, and look, it was just around will we ever see another property boom like we saw in the early 2000s? My opinion, and the question was specifically to where I operate, so in Toowoomba, locally, will we ever see a boom? I don't necessarily think we will see a boom like what we saw in the early 2000s. But what I do think is that we may see what I'd probably more refer to as a mini boom, substantial, strong growth for a number of reasons. So what I just wanted to jot through is like what those reasons were, and I guess 5 reasons why I think we might see a mini boom locally in the coming years. So the first reason for me, so number one, is I think, and we spoke about this last week with Charlie, and off the back of the election, I think the federal government's support for first home buyers is amazing. I think that's really going to be a driving factor, and it should see a significant increase in the number of first home buyers or people that may previously have been wanting to purchase but just not quite ready or not able to now actually come to market and be able to purchase something and get into their first home, in particular for second-hand stock. The key thing that Charlie and I were talking about last week was around that previously there'd been the state incentives for first home buyers, so state government incentives for first home buyers if they were purchasing something that was new. There was a concession on stamp duty, which is still there from a state level as well, but there wasn't any incentives other than a stamp duty concession for second-hand stock. Now, the key thing for second-hand stock, especially here locally, is that it's affordable. There's it just opens up and it gives first home buyers a much broader, choice of what they can purchase, especially in the way of houses. So they're not having to just look at units dictated by their price point. They can actually look at houses that are second-hand, older homes, but good condition, fantastic first homes, and now there's some incentive there for them to be able to purchase those properties. So the second reason, so that's number one, and I think that's going to have a big impact in our market locally. Number two for me is relaxations on lending restrictions that were pushed through from APRA. So the authority that overlooks lending in Australia and the banks, they've relaxed their restrictions on lending. That's from a couple of things there from an investor point of view, also from just allowing the banks to be able to borrow and have more control over what they're able to lend to people and how they assess people coming through. Again, we chatted about this last week. It's still been a move over the last couple of years to responsible lending, but if you think of it this way, we went to an extreme in terms of becoming a much more restricted market in terms of the lending market and money that was available for people to be able to purchase. A lot of those restrictions have now been taken back or just relaxed, and to have made it a much easier proposition for people to be able to borrow, and whether that's for their own home or for an investment. Also on the lending theme is that, so this would be reason number 3, is historical low reserve bank rates. At the moment, we're currently at historical lows, and what we're seeing is that over the next coming months, all the predictions hasn't happened yet, but all the predictions are that we will see the official cash rate in Australia decrease further. So despite the fact we've been at historical lows, we are influenced by overseas markets. There were rate rises in the US, which is why we saw some banks, pressures on them to increase their rates, despite the fact that our official cash rate in Australia was low. But we've seen those rate pressures from overseas ease, and we're off the back of, revised economic forecasts in Australia. So the economy's not doing as well as what they thought it may have. We are most likely looking at further reductions in terms of the official cash rate, which means that if you're looking to purchase property, there hasn't been a more affordable time to be able to purchase. So I think that even though the reason it's so low is the economy is not doing as well as what we'd all like it to be, it still means that money is affordable. For those of us that are in a good position, you've got good savings, you're looking to take advantage of the fact that the cash rate in Australia is low, now's a fantastic time. And as I said, everything's pointing towards we'll see further cuts in the coming months. So good news if you're looking to buy. The third thing for me, especially locally, is that Toowoomba has outperformed a lot of the major cities in Australia over the past couple of years. Even though we've had lending restrictions in place, the economy hasn't gone as well as what we'd like it to. Overseas pressures, as I said, and just the overall economic climate not being great. Despite all of that, Toowoomba as a region has outperformed a lot of our major city partners. So, for example, year on year, last 12 months to April, in Sydney, they saw prices come back 8%. That's as a median house price. Now, that's pretty substantial, 8% on a median house price reduction over the last 12 months, April to April. It's pretty substantial for Sydney. Melbourne, similarly, it's close to 6% back. Toowoomba, though, has gone the other way, and we've seen we're nearly been up 2%. I think we're actually at 1.6, but that's fantastic. So despite the trends nationally, we've sort of bucked the trend, and I think that's fantastic. I think that bodes very well for the other changes that I just mentioned that have come through, that we will see, we've performed well in a challenging climate, and now that things are becoming more favourable, I think that just sets the stage for us to be able to perform even better. The final thing for me, so that was reason number 4. The fifth thing for me is that I think the future is really bright for our region across the board. One of the things for me is that there's still infrastructure projects going on. So we're looking at inland rail, which I think will be huge for our region. We're seeing massive investment in terms of like our local airport. I think the Wagner family have done a fantastic job, and I think that that's a real asset to us as a region, something that hasn't been seen anywhere else in Australia. I think it's an outstanding opportunity. And this morning I was just reading about Qantas opening their flight school as of late this year, that it'll be starting based out of our Wellcamp airport. So I think that's fantastic. So project-wise, we've got the Toowoomba Second Range Crossing, which is coming closer to completion, and I just think that improves. We're already a desirable region. Layer on the infrastructure that's being laid. I think if you look at that as a foundation, on top of that, we're already a desirable region. It's a beautiful place to live. There's lots of things to do. There's quality education. We've got a university. There's just a lot of reasons to purchase in Toowoomba, and I think all of that bodes well. The other thing for me with that bright future is that we're still affordable. And on top of being affordable, the final thing I'll mention is Queensland's unemployment rate is higher than some of the other states in Australia. But Toowoomba as a region is better than the Queensland rate. So we're sitting at about 5.8% unemployment. So if you look at that, we have an affordable region. Unemployment here is better than the rest of Queensland. I think it's a desirable place to live. On the back of those, what I would refer to as foundation projects, we should see further economic growth. So yeah, for me, I think as a region, I think the future is really bright. So the final thing I'll say on that, so that's my 5 reasons why I think we could see a mini boom. I think all of those are really, really important. The key ingredient for me, though, for that to sort of come together, and I guess think of it as it's a perfect storm sort of brewing, is that I think our economy, we just need to, in order for it all to come together, I think our local economy really has to strengthen and do well. And coming up, I'm going to have some guests in the future, and we'll be talking more about that and what opportunities are out there to try and make that happen. But I think if our local economy were to strengthen, that I think that we could be in a prime position to see what I would refer to as a bit of a mini boom, substantial growth. I think it's really exciting for the future. So guys, really hope that helps. Yes, I do think we could see a boom-like growth period, probably not like what we saw in the early 2000s, but very exciting for the future. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to post them in the comments below, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.